Okay, so I wanted to go over um, a couple of videos today, um, mostly so that I catch both sides in this. Um, but the first one's going to be a little bit older, but they're both being examples of politicians dodging questions. And it's pretty obvious that they don't have an answer or don't want to answer when they do this. Um, but even if they're like when they're doing this, there are a couple of things to pay attention to, and watch where they pivot, and I'll kind of go over why they do this. So the first one is Kamala Harris, and this is her interview with Charlemagne the God, um, and he asks a pretty easy question to answer here, and watch how she struggles with this.
I want to know who's the real president of this country. Is it Joe Biden or Joe Manchin?
So to be clear, to provide the appropriate context for this, this was when Joe Manchin was basically holding up the Build Back Better Act, almost single-handedly. Oh my god, I'm forgetting her name right now. Kirsten Sinema. Kirsten Sinema was also holding it up, and her claims were she had problems with different aspects of the bill than he did. That way, that like you couldn't, if you could convince one of them, you had to make different arguments to convince both. But anyway, regardless, this was a question a lot of people were asking. You know, who really leads the country? Who really leads this movement? Because the Build Back Better plan was Biden's, right? This was Biden's agenda. Now, the progressive, I think it's the caucus, but yeah, the progressive caucus, I believe, was actually the one who came up with it and presented it. And the proposal originally started at like I think it was like 65 or 6.5 trillion, and then they brought it down to 3 before they presented it in Congress. And Manchin wanted it to basically be 1 trillion, which is like it doesn't fund anything. But he didn't want anything taken out of the other piece. The I don't want to call it sister bill because it's not exactly what it was. But there was a similar bill that got proposed around the same time. That was also for infrastructure, but it was all the corporate stuff, right? So the Build Back Better stuff was all the stuff for the average American citizen, and then the other bill, again, I'm forgetting the name of it at this point, was all the stuff that was about businesses, right? So and things that businesses could bid on, government contracts, so on and so forth. Anyways, so people were upset that Joe Manchin was basically single-handedly holding this up, and that people weren't making, or the people that were supposed to be pushing this bill forward weren't making overtures to him, weren't trying to persuade him, weren't giving him deals, and so on and so forth. Which, I mean, if this is Biden's agenda, why is he not meeting with Joe Manchin like on a daily basis? Okay, what do you want? How do we get this passed? There were the proponents of the bill were concerned that Joe Manchin was somehow wielding massive power as a single congressman.
She she can hear me. Acting like they can't hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, so who's the
I
real?
can hear you.
So who's the real president of this country? Is it Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, Madam Vice President?
Come on, Charlemagne.
I really-
Come on. It's Joe Biden.
I can't
No,
tell
no, no,
sometimes.
no. No. It's Joe Biden. And don't start talking like a Republican.
Okay, so you notice how at first they're pretending, oh, she can't hear him, right? Now that Kamala Harris didn't say that. Her aide did, right? And then she's like, no, I can hear him. So now she's gonna get all indignant. Oh, Joe Biden's the president. Let's not play games here. Don't talk like a Republican. Well, wait. Okay, so even if this is a poorly phrased question, which okay, but even if it is, why not restate the question in a better way and then give an appropriate answer instead of pretending like you're actually upset over the premise that people think Joe Manchin is actually running the country and is actually the president when Joe Biden's clearly the president. Like this idea that that's what's being asked. No, it's about power, right? The question is framed in a way where, or sorry, the question isn't framed in this way, but the question is, if Joe Biden is the president, why does Joe Manchin hold all the power in this situation?
about asking whether or not he's president.
Do you think Joe Manchin is a problem?
It's Joe Biden, and I'm vice president, and my name is Kamala Harris.
Whoa, Guy, I was stuck.
Okay. Also, I'm only watching on Fox News because I couldn't find a clip that wasn't on another show. I was trying to find just that specific one, and a bunch of other stuff came up. This is the quickest one I could find. But anyways, she goes on to say, I'm the vice president. Joe Biden's the president. And she never answers the question. And the question proposed is, who has the actual authority in this situation? Who has the power? Whose bill is this? Who's, Oh, actually, let's watch it.
Kamala Harris struggled.
So there's more to the clip.
Take these issues seriously. And so we're going to have to keep fighting. On voting rights, we need to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. We need to pass the Freedom to Vote Act and be relentless about pushing for that, which is what we've been doing and what I certainly am going to keep doing. We need to hear you.
Oh, so who's the real president of this country? Is it Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, Madam Vice President?
Come on, Charlamagne.
Come
on. It's Joe Biden.
I can't tell sometimes.
No.
Okay, so he says it there. I can't tell sometimes. So why not answer the question?
Joe Biden, and don't start talking like a Republican about asking whether or not he's president.
Do you think Joe Manchin?
Okay, and by the way, these are two different points, right? So at this point, the Republicans were saying Joe Biden is president because they believe he didn't win the election. They believed that that the election was rigged and stolen, right? This is not the same premise. Charlamagne isn't saying Joe Biden is the president because he didn't legitimately win. Charlamagne is asking, if Biden is president, why is it that Manchin holds all the power in this situation? And watch how she doesn't answer that premise.
And it's Joe Biden, and I'm vice president, and my name is Kamala Harris. And the reality is, because we are in office, we do the things like the child tax credit, which is going to reduce black child.
Okay, so rather than answering his question, she's going to pivot here, and she's going to talk about, look at all the things that we are doing. Okay, but that doesn't answer the question. So she's going to list off all the positive things they've done while they've been in office.
Poverty by 50%, on track to do that.
Okay, which is interesting. Why didn't you push your Democratic, oh my God, why didn't you push all the Democrats in both Congress and the House to re-substantiate that part of the Build Back Better bill? You know, if this is such a positive thing, why did we not slam the people in Congress who weren't voting to pass this? When if child poverty is such a big deal, and if this policy is so powerful.
Child tax credit is gone. The final child tax credit was deposited into the families into bank accounts for American families last week. That was the final child tax credit deposit.
Yeah, so, we did this great, amazing thing. Okay, cool. It's not what I asked you about. Secondly, if it was so great and it was so amazing, why didn't you push them to keep it? There's more. Let's see if they go over. Did they not? Oh, do I just keep skipping past it? Oh well. Yeah, okay, so that's the Kamala Harris one, right? So rather than answer the question, and rather than to try and understand the point of the question, right? Regardless of the phrasing, she tries to compare it to Republican talking points, which that's not the same thing. And then she doesn't, rather than actually answering the question, like, why is it that Joe Manchin is wielding all this power, she points to, well, we did this great thing, which you then didn't push to get passed again, even though it was part of this bill that Joe Manchin won't vote for. And if it's such a good thing, why doesn't he want it in the bill? And even if he doesn't want it, if it's such a good thing and it's this bright shining point of your presidency, why are both of you not pushing him to keep it in? And then the other one is this is Janice. I'm gonna probably pronounce her name wrong. McGeachin. She is the lieutenant governor of Idaho, and she recently attended and spoke. Well, I don't know if she attended, but there was a video of her America First PAC, which I don't know exactly what that all stands for. But this was an event that was put on by Nick Fuentes. If you're unfamiliar who Nick Fuentes is, I recommend looking it up. There's way too much for me to go over, but Nick Fuentes is a Holocaust denier. He is a white nationalist. I think using the word Nazi might be a little too strong, but he's definitely a white supremacist. I mean, and he'll deny that, but you just got to listen to what he talks about. And even if you don't know all of that about him, a cursory lookup of Nick Fuentes, you'll find he's not on most public platforms. He's not on YouTube. He's not on Twitch. I don't believe he has a Twitter that's like directly linked to his name. He's been banned off of all, and I don't want to, it's not social media, but he's been banned from like any major platform through which you can speak these things, right? And the reason why is because he says some really, really racist shit. So even if you don't know about his specific politics, like that part is really easy to find out. Well, he put on the America First PAC. He's the one who funded it, right? So and while she didn't, I don't know if she attended or not, the video that was presented, she shot specifically for it, right? So here she is being confronted on that by, the guy's name is Brian Holmes, and he gets her for a good like 5 minutes. It's just the two of them, and watch how she dodges.
There's a growing number of conservatives, young conservatives all across the country that are really concerned about the direction that our country is headed. This America First political action conference, that's who they are. And they're all committed to supporting the America First policies, especially as it relates to our wide open borders under the Biden administration. We're losing our country. They're worried about that. They're worried about election integrity. So,
okay, so then let's delve into each of those, right? So they're worried about wide open borders. Oh, so there are no border patrols. ICE is no longer, like, ICE has been I was gonna say dismembered. That's not the right word. But ICE has been abolished. There's no longer any Borders and Customs agency. And the walls that do exist at our border, we've just removed those. There are no more border checkpoints. And we don't do immigration anymore. We just, you come here and you can settle wherever you want. There's no process for that anymore, right? Oh, wait, that's not true. Have we pulled back some of the policies that Trump put in place while he was president? Yes. Have we overhauled immigration? No. Have we stopped deporting illegal immigrants? No. Do we allow just anybody into the country? Well, turns out that's not the case either. As a matter of fact, Biden is actually harder on this specific aspect of things than even Trump was. It's phrased a specific way, so I don't want to misstate it, but Biden has removed, or not removed, what I'm trying to remember the wording. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it was phrased a very specific way because depending on your technical definition, has deported, or Biden's, let's just look at Biden's immigration numbers. So we've restricted the visas. Oh, no. Yeah. Visa restriction? Oh, he's lifted the restrictions. Yeah, remain in Mexico policy. Kamala Harris literally went down to, I forget where it was. It was somewhere in South America, and she told them, don't come. Lowest refugee admissions. Biden's boosted that. Here we go. Authorized temporary work permits. Nope. Again, this is not. There was an article specifically about the number of people. Here we go. Authors noted increase since 2020 remarkably more than the 770,000 average annual increase for the revealed 7% increase. This isn't giving me... Why am I not able to find this? This is a really big deal to a lot of people. It was... so they weren't deportations. And this is why the technical wording is important. But it was something like 600,000 people had been... again, I'm forgetting the technical term for it. But they were basically removed from the country. Now, whether that means they were actually like citizens... or not citizens, whether they actually had been in the country and living here already, legally or illegally, is unclear. But basically, he sent 600,000 people back across the border. Now, it's unclear what their status was before being sent back across the border. Like, were these like catch and releases? Were these people that were crossing illegally? They got caught at the border, and then once they got then released back on the other side of the border that they came from. Like that part's unclear, but it was over 600,000 of these people, and Biden's only been president for not even 2 years, right? That exceeded Trump's number even over his entire presidency. So, no, borders aren't wide open. What was the other thing she said? Oh, we're losing our country. What the hell does that mean? Like, losing our country? How? Are we being invaded by a foreign enemy? Are we being culturally absorbed by another country? Like, what? And that's problematic in itself. We're losing our country. What the fuck does that even mean? And then she said, the election integrity. Every single law enforcement agency that has anything to do with the elections looked into the elections and determined that these were the most secure elections we have ever had. Every state that did recounts either found more votes for Biden than the original count, or found other issues in which Republicans in that state were committing voter fraud. Every instance of voter fraud that was found in the 2020 election, every single one, with the multiple investigations, were that Republicans had committed voter fraud. Trump's own judges threw out every single one of the cases because they didn't have enough substantiation. The judges literally looked at the evidence and said, "There's nothing here that backs your claim. Give me something that backs your claim so I can hear it, or I'm going to throw it out." And they couldn't present to any one of these judges. And what was it, like 60 plus lawsuits? Not one of them made it past the initial stages of, well, I can't. This isn't evidence, right? So like every claim that she just made here that these people are concerned about shouldn't be legitimate concerns. Right? If you actually know the information on these topics, it's just demonstrably this is literal lunacy. But why is she talking about this stuff, right? Does she believe this? Is she a Trumper? Well, I don't have enough information on that to say one way or the other. But she went and spoke at this rally. Or sorry, she had a video that was presented at this rally. She literally just spewed all of their talking points. Why is that? Well, because everything that these political animals do is about drumming up support so they can get reelected. So, who are the people that believe these things? Well, these are Nick Fuentes fans. And again, Nick Fuentes is an admitted white nationalist, white separatist, right? He believes that not only should America be a white dominant country for the rest of forever, but it should actually be a white exclusive country because the United States was founded by white people. Despite the fact that if you go based off of the nationalist logic, this should belong to all the Native Americans and everyone else should get the fuck off their land. So, yeah, that's all interesting. But anyways, continuing on. Oh, having some technical difficulties here.
I was asked to present a video. I wasn't able to be there personally, so I was asked to present a video along with others, Michelle Malkin, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, and a few others.
Are you familiar with who puts this event on? Like Nick Fuentes?
I don't know who he is.
Okay, so pay attention to what she says here. This is where things get real easily.
I've never met him. I don't know who he is.
Did you not look into it before you decided to say okay? Like to find out, I mean, his name is on it.
Well, you know what? Nick Fuentes, as I said, I don't know him.
Okay, pay attention to this very specific word she chooses here to answer the question, do you know who he is? And did you look up who he was before you agreed to present for this event?
I've never met him. I don't know, everything that he says or doesn't say does not reflect on who I am or who the thousands of others that are participating in this movement.
Okay, so I've never met him. I don't know him. Basically, they're saying the same thing. I don't know everything he says or doesn't say, and everything he says or doesn't say doesn't reflect on the thousands of other people in this movement. So, let's start with the first obvious part. She doesn't know him. Okay, you don't need to know him to know about him. Secondly, and he even asked this question, did you even look up who he was? Because his name is all over this event. So she doesn't say she didn't look him up, right? Because that would just be foolish. To not look someone up look up the person who's throwing the event that you're going to be presenting at would be literal political suicide. Okay, so then rather than answer that question, she dodges it by saying, "Well, I don't know him, and I've never met him." But that didn't answer the question. So then she continues to say, everything he says or doesn't say doesn't reflect on the other people who attended. Well, wait a minute. How do you know? Well, first of all, you weren't asked if you understand what his stances are on things, which I wish this guy had asked, right? Had she asked, do you believe, and you can clearly lay out Nick the policies that Nick Fuentes is for, right? Do you believe in white separatism? Do you believe in white national, like a white only country? Like, oh man, that would have nailed her to the wall, and I really wish she'd asked those questions. But anyways, so she knows enough to not admit to knowing what the guy stands for, but then says that she doesn't know him or what he stands for, right? Because that's what she's saying is, I've never met him, therefore I don't know what he believes. But then also clarifies that what he says or doesn't say should not reflect on the thousands of other people who are part of this movement. So wait a minute. Why would you phrase that when asked, do you know who he is? Did you look him up before attending this rally? It's awfully suspicious. Why would you need to jump to defending the idea that what this guy who runs the event says or doesn't say should not reflect on everyone who attends if you don't know what the guy is for and you don't know what he does or doesn't say? Additionally, how could you make that claim if you don't know what he says or doesn't say? Or rather, it seems like you do know some of the things that he says and some of the things that he stands for, and rather than denying whether you agree with those stances or not, because she needs the support of the people who attended that event that this guy threw, rather than denying that she, or not agreeing, pointing out that she doesn't agree with his policies, because she can't do that, because she needs their support, she tries to spin this in a way in which, well, I don't know what he says, and just because he says these, even if he does say these things, why does that reflect on me? I'm not the one saying them. Well, but you attended his event. And if you attended his event without knowing what he's saying, how is it that you can preempt that part of the conversation, right? So, it's just...
You didn't bother to look up his name or...
I didn't say that.
Okay, and there she is. She paints herself into a corner. So you don't know what he stands for, but you don't know what he stands for and you've never met him. Okay, so then you didn't look him up before you attended the event. No, I didn't say that. So you did look him up before you attended the event. And if you did, then you had to have come across something that explains who Nick Fuentes is. Because, here, I am going to do a cursory search on Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes. Just a normal Google search. Got a lot of stuff with his name on it, right? Very first thing that comes up is a Wikipedia article. Nicholas Joseph Fuentes is an American far-right and white nationalist, political commentator, and live streamer. Anti-Defamation League has described Nick Fuentes as a white supremacist, a former YouTuber. His channel was permanently suspended in February 2020 for violating YouTube's hate speech policy. Fuentes has described himself as an American nationalist, conservative Christian, and paleoconservative. He has expressed anti-Semitic views and Holocaust denial and is opposed to women's right to vote. First paragraph, trying not to swear. First paragraph, 2 sentences. This took me all of, 10 seconds? This is the lieutenant governor going to speak at a political rally who has people literally working for her. So if she looked him up, and we'd assume that they'd look at a Wikipedia article, because this would be the easiest way to understand a summation of what the guy does and doesn't believe. Holy crap, look at all the citations. Oh my god. Wow. Yeah, look at all this material. How did you not? Okay, so she doesn't deny that she looked him up, which has to lead to the conclusion that she knows this about Nick Fuentes. And yet, she chose to still allow this video to be presented at this guy's rally. So now...
You did look him up.
You didn't... That's not the question that you asked me.
But he did just ask you. He literally asked you right now, did you look him up? In which, by the way, I just demonstrated it takes 5 seconds to figure out what Nick Fuentes believes.
Did you...
Or sorry, it takes 5 seconds to look up the fact that Nick Fuentes has espoused some politically controversial views. Now, is he actually a white nationalist? Maybe not, right? I haven't heard everything that the guy said, but it's clearly enough of a view that Wikipedia has put that in there with several references, along with the white nationalism and not believing in the women's right to vote and so on and so forth, right? So,
look up who Nick Fuentes was and what he's talked about, like things he has said.
I have
Since last week, not before?
Yes.
So then you didn't look him up prior to attending the event that he sponsored?
I guess the question is, because
Oh my
you
God.
said, well, I'm only here
And it's
because...
not fair.
Okay, now, here comes the pivot.
The mainstream media, you do this to conservatives all the time, but you don't do it to yourself. That anytime there's any kind of affiliation with anybody at any time on any stage, that we're all guilty by association, and it's not appropriate.
Okay, except, pretty sure, CPAC 2022 speakers. Okay, so the AF PAC, the America First PAC, was held basically around the same time as CPAC, right? Let's see. Oh, that's August. Where was the... Was it 2021 then? No, Tulsi Gabbard. I just covered this one. Yeah, it was 2022. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Where's this held? That's not helpful. When was this? February? Damn it, this is annoying. Okay, well, anyways. So Tulsi Gabbard was at CPAC 2022. There were a lot of other people that were at that rally. Are people making negative associations there? Are people besmirching all the Republicans who allowed the Democrat to speak at their rally? Who else spoke at the rally? Were any of them people that were then condemned for having their association, right? It's almost like when we make these guilty by association connections, it's because the people that the connections are with are horrible people. Also, Obama problematic connections. I remember hearing a lot of shit about well, I guess that's not fair because they found problems with everything that he said and anyone he associated with. But, like, the idea that they only do this to Republicans isn't true. Oh! Shit. Who was Bernie? Bernie Sanders was given a bunch of crap for Bernie Sanders. Oh, there you go. It's not even about the connections. Bernie Sanders was basically defamed for having quote-unquote abusive supporters. People have talked all kinds of shit over the fact that Bernie Sanders went to Russia for his second honeymoon, which I don't know how true that is. But, like, this idea that they only do it conservatives and they don't do it to themselves, it's bullshit. Also, what difference does that make, right? Like, okay, it's not like the conservatives don't have Fox News. If your problem is that the mainstream media, of which Fox News is a part of, don't go after Democrats for having problematic associations, well, okay, why doesn't Fox News cover that, right? And if this is so problematic, why is it that they don't do this with everyone, right? So, could the views that Tulsi Gabbard talked about on stage at CPAC that we covered be seen as problematic? Could her association, or could the people who are seen associated with her be viewed as problematic coming from the conservative viewpoint? Sure. So why isn't that happening? Why aren't those people who attended that CPAC rally with her being shamed? Well, because despite the fact that conservatives might not agree with Tulsi's politics, she doesn't hold controversial politics, right? She may be a Democrat, or have been, but she doesn't talk about, a communist takeover, or she doesn't talk about white nationalism. So it's not this, like, guilt by association because we don't like them. It's guilt by association because the people that you are associating with say terrible things.
But the association is not a good one. To be associated with people who are anti-Semitic.
Stop.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yes.
You asked me why I...
Okay, so, you notice he was about to start listing off the things that Nick Fuentes has been caught, or I shouldn't even say caught saying, because he says them on a platform that that he has full control over, that he continues to say to this day. These are beliefs that he has espoused for basically his entire political commentator career, and he doesn't shy away from them. So she has to stop him from listing off all of the horrible things that Nick Fuentes believes before this guy can say on national television, or is this national? Okay, maybe not national, but like this is on TV, which means that this news segment is going to be run at least in a city, if not the entire state, if not the entire country. Plus, with the way things work, this stuff gets online for literally the entire world to see. So she has to stop him from listing off all these things that Nick Fuentes has openly said he's in support of because of the association. She literally went and talked at this guy's conference. And then she's gonna state the same thing she just stated, despite the fact that this doesn't. This is not a defense of going to this guy's conference. Because it means one of two things. Either she didn't look him up before she went to his conference, which is just pure idiocy, or she did look him up before she went to the conference, doesn't care that this guy espouses these horrible things, and only cares about being able to get in front of an audience to say a word to garner support from these people, regardless of their despicable views. Neither of which is a good look. So rather than dealing with either of those possibilities, she pivots to then try and make this a how dare you argument, like she's done nothing wrong. Which, on a technical level, is true. Who you associate with doesn't make you an evil person simply through association. But we're talking about politics here. Okay? If you appear at a conference to talk about political stuff held by a financial, not what is the word I'm looking for? Funded, that's the word. Funded by a guy who is also he's also in politics. If you are a politician who goes to a conference funded by a political commentator, meaning that he also only, like, his job is dealing with politics, and this commentator has said some very problematic shit, and you didn't look him up, or you did and you went and attended his conference anyway, presented at his conference anyway, one of these two things is not good. You could have only done one of these two things. But she can't let it end there, and she can't let him list off all the horrible things that influence believes, because that's all going to be said with her fucking face on TV. Sorry, try not to swear again. With her face on this screen. While he's asking her, did you know about him when you attended his event?
It was there. Why I wanted to participate and speak to these young conservatives. That's what we're talking about right now.
Okay.
At a conference held by a white supremacist, anti-Semitic white nationalist. I can't believe this shit. I cannot believe these people. I cannot believe these people. This is just too good. This is just too good. And like I could do this all day long with politicians not answering questions. There's a reason why they refuse to answer the questions. Oh man, I just can't even. Okay, that's gonna be it for this one. I did want to cover both sides of this by pointing out that Kamala, who is a Democrat, does the same thing. I could find endless footage of this shit with this. Yeah, if someone cannot answer a question like this, it's either because they don't know the information, which doesn't look good, or they're trying to obscure the the information. Also, when someone pivots like this and tries to, no, this was a question, like, unless I'm asking a leading, not me, unless the question being asked is a leading question, like, oh my god, my favorite one is Destiny when he was on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. Do you love black people? Unless this is a question that's like a leading question that's supposed to like paint you into a corner. If they cannot answer, there's probably a reason why they won't answer. And it's got to be one of two things. One, they don't know the information. Which, honestly, if you don't know, say you don't know, right? First of all, if you admit that you don't know information on a topic, people are going to be more receptive to you having not an incorrect stance, but understanding that you do not have all the information on a topic, or that you are not an expert, or that you're not educated on it, so on and so forth. That doesn't excuse a bad take, but what that means is that then you have the the optics, or the positive optics to then change your mind on something, because you admittedly don't know information on the subject. And information is how we come to conclusions about things, right? So admitting you don't know is one option, which I would say is a good thing. The idea that admitting you don't know something is bad. It is only bad if you have a strong opinion and you won't change that opinion despite being presented with additional information. Or two, you do know and you don't want to get caught knowing. So you have to do shit like this. This will never not be funny to me. Anyways, that's going to be it for this time. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you